Last time we reviewed an inverter, I was in Arizona. I was actually in Globe, Arizona, and it was kind of an overcast day. Today I am in Wisconsin. Hasn't been that long. We kind of barreled up here as fast as we could to get away from the storm season in the middle Midwest. I don't know what you call that spot, the spot where all the tornadoes go. Tornadoes and RVs don't match up. But now we've got a new inverter to test, and I want to show you all about it. This is the LiTime 3000w inverter. And I'm hoping this one's going to run the rooftop AC. I was getting this all set up to video for you, and I noticed that somebody else already did a little test, and there's a little witness mark there from where they touched the wire down and it tried to load up its capacitors inside and sparked on you. In the last video, I showed you how when you're connecting up an inverter, sometimes you get a pow, a big spark as you land the electrical terminals together to complete the circuit. This time I'm going to show you how to fix that with a very simple resistor. This right here is a 25 watt 30 ohm resistor. What this will do is it will allow the capacitors inside of the inverter to charge up nice and slow without having that big huge spark. They'll take milliseconds, but the spark and the shock and the craziness will go away. If you don't have yourself some safety glasses, you probably want to have some safety glasses on just in case anything goes crazy, but I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to show you how this whole thing sparks out, or in this case, doesn't spark out. I want to charge up the capacitors inside of the inverter. I'm going to use a 25 watt 30 ohm resistor. I'm going to take it and I'm going to attach it with my fingers, and that's going to be okay because electricity is going to follow the path of least resistance, which is into the inverter and not into me. So let's go ahead and tap this together, and there should be no spark. No spark at all, nothing going on there. I want to hold this on, I'm going to give it a 10 count. And now, when we connect this up, there should be no spark at all. You see that? No spark at all. That is how you solve the problem of the big, huge spark that comes out of this thing when it tries to charge those capacitors, that big inrush of juice from your battery to your inverter to get it ready to roll for that first surge of when you plug something in. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on and get it nice and tight. And then I'm going to put my plastic covers on to protect me from stray metal touching these guys here and get her all screwed down. And that's all it takes is one 25 watt 30 ohm resistor. And I will leave a link for this thing here in the description down below. So I have the safety covers on the positive and on the negative, and I also have the safety covers on the nuts that go inside the positive and the negative. It is a little difficult to get to the back one because these are stacked on top of each other, but the back side of this connector is plastic, so that removes some of the danger. But I would recommend that you disconnect your battery terminals while you are doing this and only connect it here on this end first and then connect it to your battery on the other side of these wires. And now I'm going to try and get everything in the shot. This is actually a really slick little control panel. It is meant for flush mounting, and then they also sent you in these metal brackets here. I've got to temporarily put up here on my wall of awesome to show you guys how it all works. That will allow you to mount this flush onto a wall or to mount it recessed into a wall. And I just lost my battery display. There we go. I have a display of the power coming out of the battery right here for you. Everybody's favorite thing to test with inverters is heaters. So I have a 120 volt AC heater right here. Let's go ahead and hit the on button. And it makes a noise when you turn it on, and it has a backlight, and you can turn the backlight on and off, and you can see that it is trying to warm up what its output is. We've got it set for 60 hertz, 120 volts AC. It's telling me that the battery is 13.2. and the temperature in here is 24 degrees Celsius. So what I'm going to do now that it is on and has figured itself out, I'm going to turn this on to fan only. And you can see it running. And then over here, you can see that we are pulling 27 watts out to run the fan and about 2 amps. That's actually a pretty hungry fan. 20 watts, 1.5 amps, and it's bouncing back and forth a little bit. This thing here is telling me 10 watts. So you can see the conversion difference between 20 watts, 12 volts DC and 120 volts, 10 watts AC to run that fan right there. My battery is nice and happy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this on to low heat. And we're up to 320 watts, 400 watts, 450, 500. She's climbing. And you can see the battery is putting some power out. 777 watts, starting to get warm in here. Heat actually feels kind of good today. We're pulling 55 amps out of the battery. You can see that right there, which is why you really want some nice fat cables. And it's nice that it comes with nice fat cables for you. So we're back at 610 watts on the control panel, and that control panel really does look pretty good. It gives you a good idea of what's going on. I'm going to turn the heater up to full power, and we're going to watch it go. That is, oh, the fans just kicked in on the inverter. 1400 watts, 1300 watts. We're pulling over 100 amps out of the battery. So it seems like we got a little bit more efficient. We got 1300 watts coming out and 1100 watts going to the AC load there. So that works out really well. I turned that down, and the second I turned it down, the demand disappeared and the fans went quiet. I like that. The connection between the remote control and the inverter itself looks like it is just a regular old phone line to me, which of course means that if you had to run it for any longer distance, you could just go down and get yourself a phone cord at the local store. Actually, I guess I really should think about whether I should say that or not, because people don't use landline phones anymore, so you might need to order this off of Amazon or some other online marketer. Crazy. Let's talk a little bit about ports on the back side of this thing. You have 4 15 amp US style outlets that are good for 110 to 120 volts AC, kind of obvious stuff. You can tell by looking at this that it looks a lot like what you normally have inside your house. What the owner's manual says is you can do 3000 watts between all 4 of these ports, not 3000 watts on one port, but across all 4 ports. Over here you have a set of terminals. You can do 3000 watts out of this terminal here directly. You have line, neutral, and ground, so you can hook it into your electrical panel and power your RV directly off of that plug at 3000 watts. You also have your remote control port for the control panel that I showed you, and a USB-A and a USB-C port. Why you would want these here, I don't know, but I think they had room for them, and it's probably for firmware programming for them or something. There are better ways to charge your phones than to plug them into your inverter, but if it's all you have, you know, it's good in an emergency. If you want more tips on RV power systems and off-grid living and things you can do while camping, then this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button right below the video. I'd appreciate it. We got a bunch of mounting hardware. I've already actually used some of it to do the mounting. I'll show you that later. Manual for the 3000 watt LiTime inverter that goes from 12 volt DC to 120 volt AC. Ground cable that you plug into the ground lug on the side of the inverter and then clamp this somewhere. A bunch of electrical stuff for connecting to your battery, some extra ring terminals, some shrink tubing, and some big old lugs. Good that they send some extra hardware along. I think I might have hit the lottery here, I don't know. They sent along 2 sets of battery cables. So it's M8 on one side to connect to your battery and M6 on the other side to connect to the inverter. And then again, M8 and M6 for the negative, M8 and M6 for the positive. So score! The unit itself is pretty straightforward, pretty simple looking. Not a whole lot going on here. It will look good on your wall of awesome inside of your RV where you have everything set up, and then there's not a whole lot of intrusive lights here to keep your basement dwellers awake. Just have your little power on light and your power off light. And if there's any fault, there will be a red light there for the fault. I've been a big fan of LiTime products. I've done a battery review, I've done a charge controller review, and now we have the inverter review, which is pretty much the entire system that you need in order to get success in the great outdoors when you are RVing. If you like any of the things that you see here, there is a 6% off discount code down in the description to help save you some money on your entire order. So here's something I bet doesn't happen every day. This is the power cord, which is running down here to my laser printer. Let's turn that on. And then you can see the control panel warming up there. Laser printers are pretty power hungry. And then with you guys looking at that, I'm gonna hit the print button and we're gonna take off like a rocket. Print. 0 watts to sit on idle, that's not bad. 600, 800, 900, 800, 800, 700, 600, 700, it's all over the place. And we've printed, and you can kind of see there's some stuff on there. I don't want to show you people's addresses, that's kind of personal. So if you're like me and you have business to conduct while you're boondocking in the middle of some BLM forest land connected via Starlink to the internet, then this is definitely something that you need, because I never really thought about laser printing off-grid before. But I'm happy that it was able to handle it just fine. Got that afternoon lighting for that special glow for y'all. I want to talk a little bit about the owner's manual and the power cables that it comes with. The owner's manual is very thin, and a 3000 watt inverter has a lot of power potential in it. This is not the best owner's manual for something like that. In particular, what I wanted to know was why it came with the extra cables. I know why, but I wanted to know if they told you why, and they don't. You're supposed to run them in parallel, so you take both wires and connect those to your battery over those terminals, and maybe the labels are readable, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And then you take these 2 wires here on the other side, and you land these on the terminal on the back side of the inverter. The problem with this is that these are 4 AWG wires, and they're not good enough to supply this thing with 12 volts DC, 260-ish amps of input so that it can turn it into 3000 watts AC. They're not big enough for that kind of power, so that's kind of dangerous. They're also not really long, so I don't think that they intended for these to be the be-all and end-all of cabling. They just don't tell you what you should use. And then in the video, I used 2 AWG wire, which also isn't big enough to deliver the amount of current that's necessary to get this inverter running to do its full 3000 watt output. The tests that I did, they're just fine with this setup, and they'll be just fine for running your microwave and powering other small devices inside of your RV. But do not try to run your air conditioner without proper wiring and gauge of wire and delivery of batteries. Batteries are another thing. Most RVs come with a single battery on the tongue. My RV has 2 batteries on the tongue, and they are wired together so that they provide more amperage, but still not enough for this. Most of your 100 amp hour batteries, not all of them, but most of your 100 amp hour batteries will put out 100 amps continuous delivery without an issue. So you'd need at least 3 of them wired in parallel to get 300 amps of delivery out of them safely. And again, appropriately sized cables and length of cables and so on and so on. So I would like to see them do a little bit better job with that. However, all of that aside, it works, it does the thing. Then the question becomes what it was even for any other inverter, getting the right cables and getting the right installation done. If you are not comfortable with electricity, try and do the physical install yourself, like, screwing this to the board and making the layout pretty and all that attention to detail stuff that you want to see, and then bring in an electrician friend or hire an electrician to help you do the wiring and get the wire gauge proper for the current demands and so on that you're going to do. Figure out what your needs are in the size of an inverter. This one here with the proper cables will run my entire 30 amp RV, and I'd be pretty happy with it. Like I mentioned before, there are links down in the description. If you want to see the inverter review I did on another one, there will be a link to the video over here for you. I'll see you over there.